Hey guys, this is Project Dave. So for starters, I'm going to give you a handy-dandy guide on how to get a Headhunter in this league. You see this stack of 1500 Orb of Alchemies? You just press Orb of Alchemy, apply it to a white map. Don't juice it at all. Kill a random-ass rogue exile. Boom, there's your Headhunter. You don't need no Abyss additional projectiles bullshit. Just kill a random rogue exile. Easy Headhunter. Now, as far as why this dropped, it's probably because the league has inherent item quantity boost, and also tier zeros have a higher drop rate on console to some extent. I don't know how much higher it is. But by necessity, if you have 1/5000th of the players, you can't have the mirror drop rate be the same as on PC, or the mirror would just never drop for anyone ever. So, same idea. But there you go, there's your Headhunter. Anyway, back to the topic of the video. So this character is eventually going to be Lightning Conduit of the Heavens, with like 200 divines of stuff. But I've been collecting these little corpses from the purple guy, so I figured I might as well do like a series on what they do. So this is Imperfect Spirit of Fortune. The Perfect Spirit of Fortune is the really good one, because it makes your lightning damage lucky. So in theory, I'll try to keep that alive while mostly having a lightning damage build, and not a minion build. But right now the tree is just personal survivability and minion survivability. And then I'm not really experienced with minions, so I had to learn like how to keep it alive, roll the fly, so it has healing, and so on. I'm doing all this on the fly, more or less blind. I mean, I know minions aren't that hard to play. I haven't really played them myself much. I might have played them in way back in the day, like in 2013. But I haven't really played them since then. So we're here in the dried lake. I'm trying to figure out what to like how the minion acts, what he does, how he behaves, etc. And how survivable he is, because I know these things can be pretty squishy. This one is a level 18 base. I don't know how much that matters. I'm assuming it'll matter a lot eventually, but probably doesn't matter for the next couple of acts or so. It can probably still stay alive. At some point the minion will die, in theory, or despawn of his own volition, which isn't supposed to happen, but will happen, I'm sure. Assuming I don't unequip the gloves. And then I'll test out a different one. Eventually I'm going to make a Guardian that just tests out every single one of these and show off what they do, because it's probably the coolest part of the league from a conceptual level. I've never gotten the Naval Officer, but I have gotten every other Spectre. I have the perfect one that is only active when you link it. So we'll test that one out as well, which is supposed to be the Cortex boss, I think. Kinda curious what that does. Surely it must be overpowered, surely. But the point of this is not to have like a super fast, clear video. It's just to show what the thing does, how it behaves. It kind of teleports around. It does have Feeding Frenzy, Minion Life, and Elemental Army, all survivability stuff. I think Feeding Frenzy is probably making it act somewhat weirder though. It's basically a Kodaku or Plateau boss or Volcano boss. Is that the other totem boss? There's one other one too. They're all the boss on the ledge, just with slightly different attacks. Same concept. And here's the main arena. I went and got a couple levels so I could have a flame golem up. And now I've got 2 minions plus a totem that shoots fireballs with lesser multiple projectiles. Amazing. So ultimately, I was not particularly confident that this would actually survive Daresso. That's why I went and got a couple levels first, but actually did manage to do okay. It's a miracle. So before I remembered you could roll life flasks so they give minion recovery. I was using the sulfur flask to heal him. You can also get damage leech, 1% of damage leech his life. But I don't think it does enough damage right now to actually sustain just off of that, so I have to heal it manually. Oh, I did do, there's a trophy on PlayStation, this is PS5 that I'm playing on, for having like 40 minions. So I did that, I think, in Synthesis. It might have been one league after Synthesis, which is the first league on PlayStation. So that was my main minion build, which was like level 35 or something, whenever you could do summon enough minions. I don't know if it's 20 minions at once or 50 minions at once, one of those, for that trophy. Very easy to do, just have to level up a witch a little bit. Probably way easier to do now with all these new skills that have 10 billion different minions. Or the guys that summon their own minions, the specters that summon their own minions. I haven't seen them yet, but we'll see. I do have Midnight Bargain in the docket, so I can run 2 specters at once too. And I could put on a bunch of other stuff too, but somewhat lazy. So I guess since this is like a Spark Nova, you could give it like really huge increased AoE, and then it could hit full screen or more than a full screen. It already hits full screen of its own volition, but it could have some comically huge AoE boost, like doing the Feared with 100% increased AoE, that kind of stuff. Well, that's kind of novel. I guess I'll talk about the league a bit now. So the problem with this league is that there's no problem internally to the league. It doesn't matter if the economy is really ridiculous for one league, but it does matter what do they do on the following league. And the assumption seems to be that they're intentionally making the next league feel bad in some way. Like, I think the mechanic of the next league will be strong, but people will not want to play it for longer than 2 months, because after those 2 months they have to play PoE too. Now, people don't play PoE for longer than 2 months most of the time, but some players do. And in the case of this league, I think a lot of people are going to play the full duration because they know that's actually possible for rare stuff to drop, such as my Headhunter, which that's with no comical amounts of juicing whatsoever. I have had 15,000 uniques drop on my character because that's just what happens this league, and that's not an exaggeration. It's probably 15,000. It might be more than 15,000. It just so happened that one of the 15,000 was in just a random map, and it happened to be a Headhunter, but it was probably supposed to drop in one of the juiced maps, which I do have some recordings of. Those are mildly interesting. They take forever to loot is the problem, and they don't really feel that much like playing PoE. I prefer the Scourge juice maps. Those are the main other league mechanic specific juice maps that I did. And those maps were like insanely hard, like virtually impossible most of the time, but they were cool. They were kind of like the Voldo Cube maps. Cool concept, and sometimes you could do pretty well. They would drop stuff. They don't drop stuff like this league, but if you added, an extra 200% quantity and 5,000% rarity and everything, I'm sure they would have dropped everything in the universe too. That's the general concept of this league. I'm not, I've been richer as far as my wealth relative to the rest of the player base, just because of luck on one other league. At one point I was probably like the 5th or 6th richest person on PlayStation for a few days before everyone else just does the same exact boring strategy for the next 2 months, and then they'll have a lot more currency than I do. For what purpose, who knows, but that's what they'll do. But I like exploring every facet of the game and messing around with new builds and stuff like that I make on my own, pretty much on the fly. They tend to be pretty okay. Um, well, not necessarily on my own. Usually, I'll look at PoE Ninja and look at concepts of builds, like really fringe concepts of builds. One guy in one case, and then I made that build with a different character, and it kicked ass. Meaning a different class, a completely different class, but it still worked in a different way. That was neat. But there you go. We've reached the end of the footage. I somehow talked this entire time. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.